Listen, this is going to sound a little bit far-fetched and conspiracy theory, etc., but what we are seeing here now goes way beyond what we have called the culture war. Yes, culture. This is a war that takes place on a much larger scale, and culture is just one of the battlegrounds. Yes, we have academia, we have big tech, we have the financial market, we have public policy making.
Stellar Blade, the review roundup is in, and it has been given extremely favorable scores. The score overall,
it should be higher though. Should
right,
be higher than 82 because of the fact that a lot of those reviews are holding it back because, well, she looks too sexy. There's a lot of review, like IGN has that in there. A few other outlets have that, like, oh well, she didn't have, all this sex appeal. The game would be better.
Well, the general thought is that it's a really, really good hack and slash game. I mean, that at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're looking at here. Yeah. And I'm
surprised IGN, the Italian one, the guy who made that one article said it was gonna kill women.
Right. Yes, and they gave it an 85.
And I bet you it's not a 90 because of Eve's booty.
Well, that's. By the way, do we really need like an IGN Italia and Brazil? Like, why can't you just translate your English speaking thing to these other languages? True. I don't understand. But
because localization.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna localize it. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I want that's one thing we do need to check is with these with the IGN Italy review is did they actually go in and did they deduct points for it? But point is that the reviews for this game have been very, very good, and obviously the there's some mixed reviews, but not a single negative review on this as we go along and we look at this. And I think that says a lot about the game. It's specifically with all the controversy associated with it and kind of the censorship aspect of it that we've spoken about quite at length. We had Grums on Friday. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you guys go back and watch that. We had several clips of our conversation with Grums. And we'll have Grums on again in the future to continue to talk about it. But the big thing with Grums was the free Stellar Blade petition. And his goal is 100,000 signatures online. Currently, it's sitting at 48,000 signatures strong over on change.org. And what's interesting about this is you guys have some pretty, pretty pointed comments about the idea of a petition. And I don't know, Flash, I'll open it up to you really quick and let you kind of talk about the petition aspect of things and whether or not you think this can or cannot work.
I just think back to the Amber Heard one where I think over 1 million people signed it to not have her be in that Aquaman movie that bombed and she was still in it. I don't think they work. I mean, I think it's cool that you see a lot of voices saying we don't like this, but I think they rarely work, to be honest. And Stellar Blade, when they came out and said this game is going to be uncensored in all of these regions, they were probably working on the censorship for that game. And Sony's more to blame for that than Shift Up. But I think the way that they handled that was awful. And they lied. And I hate giving the people any kind of a win that are complaining about this game, but Shift Up and Sony aren't innocent here, and it's bullshit. And it's to the point where I'm thinking about returning my copy of the game. I haven't opened it out of the wrapping yet, so I can. But I'm kind of pissed off that how this went down. Because they had a good thing going. Then they come out and say, after the censorship, the director comes out and says, this was actually my vision for the game the whole time. This is what I wanted to happen. Yeah, there it is right there.
Here it is right here. The Stellar Blade director says it was his decision to make a Stellar Blade demo rather than Sony's, and just a small taste of the full game. It was my decision to release a demo version. Since Korean console titles are so rare, we thought that it was our duty to provide a demo version that links to the main game, because no matter how much you watch videos of an action game, you can't understand everything unless you play it yourself. However, as it is just the opening section, it was not possible to capture all the aspects of quote Stellar Blade. It's just to see how the game works. The gameplay will get deeper and more varied. So please consider it a small taste. Now, Plabs, there was another quote where he talks.
If this is his definitive version, why does the other one exist?
Mm-hmm.
There was another quote that he had. You're right. There was another quote that he had where he talked about the censorship associated with Stellar Blade, and he more or less pointed. He said, "It was my decision. This is the way that I intended it to be from the start." And if you can find that real quick, but I'm sure you've seen that as well, Flash.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, see if you can find that really quick. But the point of that was, I think a lot of people saw him come out and say that, talk about this is the game that I originally intended it to be. And I saw one meme where it was the guy standing there saying something, and then there's the gun off to the side, and it's like Sony represents the gun. Kind of like
that's true.
Right.
That's true.
And when you think about that relationship, the publisher-developer relationship, I mean, Sony has paid a lot of money to this company to have direct input on the game itself. It's not like they say, here's a giant bag of money, go do your thing and come back when it's done. No. They definitely have input on the final product as it goes. So, but
it's not just the TNA, by the way. The gore got turned down too. That gets lost in this. The violence, the blood and gore stuff got toned down, and they're trying to blame that on frame rates. That's bullshit.
Now, Alex, you with your background in marketing, you said that this is not. You think there's a larger issue here, right? This is not a trend. This idea of censoring things. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on all this.
Trending is. Censorship is a trend, but it's not censoring out of marketing. It serves. It has nothing to do with the product itself. It has to do with people, pressure groups who want to get their way, who want to exert control and power over the industry. And I don't think Sony cared too much about TNA or blood or the hard R word until the weirdos from these outlets started voicing their quote unquote concerns about this or that being offensive. I think that they took notes then, and they relayed this information to the devs and said, hey guys, you really have to change that or we're going to get badmouthed on Twitter. Yes.
I agree with you.
I think that's what happened.
I agree.
It's crystal clear to me. And I think that devs and publishers, they are approaching a junction in which they will have to decide whether to make the game they want to make and play. And devs have a really good idea of what people want because they are also gamers. They used to have a very direct connection with gamers, and they used to be really good at reading the room. So they'll have to decide between A, making the game they want to play, they want to make and play and listen to the actual customer, and they have ways of doing that. They can sort of strengthen their community manager body, their communication channels and pipelines.
A lot of these game developers and these game journalists, though, all of them are entangled, especially over on Reset Era, where a lot of them have accounts and talk to each other openly. That's where a lot of this shit that happens comes from, is these people like hanging out and making a lot of this shit happen.
Listen, this is going to sound a little bit far-fetched and conspiracy theory, etc., but what we are seeing here now goes way beyond what we have called the culture war. Yes, this is a war that takes place on a much larger scale, and culture is just one of the battlegrounds. Yes, we have academia, we have big tech, we have the financial market, we have public policy making. This war is taking place in all these fronts. And what we have is a faction who wants to remove people from the decision-making process. That's what they want. That's what they're doing in academia. That's what they're doing in the entertainment industry. That's what they're doing everywhere. And in particular, the way they do this in the entertainment industry is by coming up with a series of things that are a big no-no that you cannot say because people are going to get offended or people are not going to like it, etc. But these things are not by any means universal. There's a little group that wants to be the shot callers, that wants to be the arbiter of what is offensive, of what can and cannot be done. And they want to sell you that that's the thing that you have to adhere to. And if you don't, well, like Kim Belair says, we're going to have a little chat with your marketing team and make them terrified at the prospect of you not giving us what we want. She said it herself, the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. And this is something that we see everywhere. Believe me, the Stellar Blade issue is not all that different from Bill C-63, for example, which is has a veneer of something positive to protect kids from online threats, etc. But the real purpose behind that is to coerce people to be the shot callers, to be the ones who dictate the rules that everyone else has to play by, or else. There is an important or else component here that we see. And that's why I think we should sign that petition, amongst other things. Listen, I don't give a shit if Eve from Stellar Blade has big boobs or small boobs. This is a Sekiro. This is Sekiro with boobs, okay? A really good Souls-like game in which you have to master parry and master dodging and these things. This game is not for me. But I do care that there are changes being made because someone else who isn't the target audience, who isn't the paying customer, is strong-arming these companies into changing what their original plan. And this is happening everywhere. And if we don't stand against it, it's going to get far worse. But thankfully, I think at this point, it is getting better.
So here is the director's response to the censorship. Says, we are aware of the issue, which that seems really
I bet he's aware of it. They went in there and fucking modified the shit.
Exactly.
Right. The version, he said, the version we ultimately intend to showcase is the day one patch version. However, this is not an answer that will convince players. We are having internal discussions. And he later went on to say, in regards to the costumes, Blabs, thanks for finding this, says, understandably, we also recognize this issue. However, the final costume that we wanted to show you is indeed the version in version 1.0.0.2, which is the day one update. I want to clarify that is our final product. However, I know this answer is not enough to convince our users. There's ongoing internal discussions regarding this. So I think we'll have a chance to answer that. How
do we not call it a bait and switch?
Well,
that's the internal discussion.
This goes on to the larger discussion, right? And this is from Grums, and once again, Grums has put all out the information. He wants everyone to sign the petition. Says, if you want clear proof that Stellar Blade stuff is important, just look at the reaction. If it's such a trivial thing, why are people making death threats over it? Why do they work so hard to discredit and tear down the petition? It's because it threatens their ideology, a virus, if you will, that has taken over so many minds. Yes, that virus. And I don't think he's wrong. Once again, this literally has nothing to do with TNA or blood. Yes. It has nothing to do with that. And it goes back to the idea of people wanting to discredit, your feelings because they it's just booze. What do you even care? And, these guys are all losers. These guys have never touched a vagina ever. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, why don't you just actually listen to what people are saying and realize that it has nothing to do with that? There's a larger issue attached to this. Alex, you were going to say something.
Yeah, not a single time do they counter argument anything that anyone says. Grums has put out some pretty strong arguments, and not a single one of them has said, listen, Grums is wrong because of this. Not a single time have they offered an explanation.